So I'm a sailor on the USS Sullivans in 1959. I'm getting a quick rub down here in the shower, and I get ready, I'm done. I come out, and lo and behold, here's a hoist. Inconvenient for the sailors in 1959, 60, 61, 62 that were showering here. They would have to come out, probably get razzed by the other crew. So, what is going on with this? What is going on with this hoist right outside of one of the showers in the main crew's head? Let's take a look. So here's a nice inboard profile, 1945. You'll see the hoist leading right into this area here, which is the handling room for Mount 53. 1959. It gets shifted. Because Mount 53 is removed, the 3-inch 50 is placed, and so this hoist goes from this angle, now much more vertical here for the 3-inch. And so it necessitated a move and a configuration probably from the hoist peeking out through that forward bulkhead to now smack dab in the middle of the crew's head. So we're going to take a look at some of those areas, and I'll give you an explanation as to what the hell is going on with the reconfigure after Mount 53 is removed. So let's check it out. So as I said, this was the handling room. These two areas were the handling rooms for both the 40 millimeters, which would have been up here in 1945. There's a representation of them. All right, the twin Bofors. For both the 40 millimeter and the 5-inch. And they went from this handling room, which we'll go visit, in a nice slopey forward pattern into this area here. And this was the handling room for Mount 53, sorry, that was right above us here. In the configuration, this turned into a supply office. This turned into an electronics store here. And at some point it became the chart room, or one of the chart rooms for the engineering plans. All right, but the hoist would have come up here. And like if you're familiar, it would have been, this was the handling room, it would have had the pass-through and the mechanism leading right up. So the powder man would have been passing it through a hole in the overhead, and the hoists would have been here for the projectiles, boom and boom and right up. So after the configuration, this became, again, a supply office, the engineering chart room, electronics room, and that necessitated the move of the hoist. So we are going to go visit these areas now because, of course, they still had the hoist. We still have Mount 54. All right, so there's still the 5-inch hoist for that. And we're going to head down to this area, which fed both Mount 54 and Mount 55. Mount 55 was just a pass-through. They didn't have a mechanical conveyor hoist. All right, so they would pass it up the ladder into the handling room and then into 55. Here they would have continued also passing it up to Mount 54. right? And the configuration now is, in this drawing here from Anatomy of the Ships, they did not put the hoist, but I drew it back in there. Sorry, there's some, there we go. Alright, so let's check it out. Aha! Handling room for Mount 54. And there is the hoist. So where is this actually leading from? Let's check it out. Here's our double ladders. When I was talking to Tim Nesmith from The Kid, their double ladders both go forward. So there's two ladders side by side and one large enclosure here, but they both go forward. Ours were shifted. One goes forward, one goes aft. Whoops. Forgot my flashlight. So here's the handling room for 55. And down below here was what I was showing you on the map. All right, are you ready to take a ride? Bingo. So here is the hoist that I just showed you for Mount 54. You can see it's single. All right, there's one tray, and that would go up right to Mount 54, to the handling room right above us. But we also have Mount 55 right there. So there would also be joint exercises here where they would be passing up the powder and the projectiles just through this deck hatch and into the handling room right there. So you have one set of guys loading the gunpowder and projectiles here. You have one set of guys passing it up here so it goes into Mount 55. All right, and here's the powder and projectile rooms. Okay, so that solves 54. I have this new light that I'm trying out. All right, so that solves Mount 54, Mount 54, Mount 55, because they continued to be 5-inch 38s. Let's head somewhere else. And so now what we're going to look at is this area right here. Right, as I had mentioned, in her original configuration and through the rest of the war into the 50s, it would have been for both the 40 millimeters and the 5-inch. It's a really large space, right? But again, the hoist gets shifted from here to here, and it becomes strictly 3-inch 50 projectiles. So now we can climb up the ladder, head down the forward ladder that I showed you. And look at that. Here's the 5-inch hoist that I just showed you from down below. We saw it up on the main deck, and here it is in its transit. So this while uncomfortable, would have been original to the ship. The ladders have been reconfigured, of course, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was just this close. So you don't want to get your hand caught as you're going down the railing. Oh, excuse our mess. Alright, so down here, again, originally was the 40 millimeter and the 5-inch for mount 53. Let's see. And what we're looking at is this area right now, right here. Originally here. So we'll see that the lowest section of the hoist remains in place. It's just that they bent it upward to follow along this trajectory, leading right into for the 3-inch 50. Sorry guys, I can't really edit. Alright, just Steven and I are on opposite schedules. Sorry about that. I hope you don't mind. And bada bing. Look at that. And that was the flashlight. Thank you to a subscriber. Unlike the singles that we've looked at, there are actually 2 openings. As I said, 40 millimeter and 5 inches here, 1 and 1. So I can't get over there. We have a lot of equipment over there, as you can see. All right, but I don't know if they're configured differently. But there are 2 hoists that then merge into a single hoist, but 2 openings. Right, where am I? Right there and right there. All right, so all of our other ones are single entry point into the conveyor belt. These are doubles. I can only imagine it's for the 40s and for the 3-inch and for the 5-inch 38s. So this hoist gets reconfigured as it comes up, and it begins to cut through the shower where those poor boys in 1959, 60, 61, 62 take a shower. They come right out. The hoist is 3 inches away, stubbing their toes, hitting their shins, getting a laugh for the rest of the crew. And so that's what the hell happened to Mount 53's hoist. They bent it more vertical. They continued to use it here in the lower lower storage and handling magazines. But throughout the years, they reconfigured it because Mount 53 was no longer there. All right, if you have questions, comments, please leave them. And hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much, everyone.